President Biden addressed the nation, usually in an Oval Office address. It's serious. This time around, it felt like he wanted to do two things: tie Ukraine to Israel and make sure you didn't just focus on Israel. And then, of course, ask for more money. And what he says is, it's for Israel and Ukraine. So he's trying to get people who have been more questionable about where is this Ukraine money going. So we'll explain that a little for you, but take a listen.
Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy, completely annihilate it. Hamas' stated purpose for existing is the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields, and innocent Palestinian families are suffering greatly because of them. Meanwhile, Putin denies Ukraine has or ever had real statehood. He claims the Soviet Union created Ukraine. And just 2 weeks ago, he told the world that if the United States and our allies withdraw, and if the United States withdraw, our allies will as well, military support for Ukraine would have, quote, a week left to live, but we're not withdrawing.
One, he's right on Hamas. I'm not sure that you would compare ever Hamas and Putin. I mean, Putin is the leader of a mega country with nuclear weapons. Thank God Hamas doesn't have those, and it's not a mega country with a mega military. It's a terrorist organization that is actually funded by another country that is yet to have their own nuclear weapons, but certainly could be on that path, Iran. But Logan, you felt like, and I think we all felt like, this was step one in leading us into a potential next major conflict, whether that's a World War III, because if you start saying this war is about Russia, Gaza, Iran, Hamas, Iran, and China, well, that's a world war if you're taking all of them on.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me watching this entire thing was this is the first, what felt to me was this is to prepare you to see this same speech again in a few weeks, a few months maybe, saying we are now in this global conflict. I hate saying that out loud. I hate feeling that way. It just almost felt like the inevitable. That is how it felt. And there were little kind of moments of sort of threats of that. While talking about Israel, and of course also while talking about Ukraine, there were moments of, if anyone else starts to step in, we will, on our full strength, defend our NATO allies. And to me, what that equals is, sadly, a world war.
We have not yet seen at this point Israel begin a full ground invasion of Gaza. A lot of people thought they were waiting to see about hostages, international hostages being released. That was certainly part of the president's trip. He was not able to get that done. Those meetings about that were canceled in Jordan with the Saudis and the Egyptians and Mahmoud Abbas from the Palestinian Authority. So the next question is kind of, when does the ground invasion begin? We know the world is turning against Israel, and we see that at the UN especially. But tying this to Ukraine, I want to go to Rick Rennell, our senior advisor for foreign policy and national security, on the president's speech last night. I mean, Rick, an Oval Office address is a major moment to the country. This time around, I didn't exactly hear what I'd usually think I'd hear in an Oval Office address, which is something kind of major. This was more of a budget request and a kind of like and hey, don't forget, when we're going to support Israel, we still need to support Ukraine.
Yeah, I was struck just by how low the bar is for Joe Biden now. If he can complete a speech that is in the teleprompter in front of him while he's sitting at a desk and he doesn't fall asleep or doesn't slur his words, the media just hail it as an amazing moment, a Churchillian moment. And I think that most Americans who live outside of Washington, D.C. are looking at this and saying, what? This is ridiculous. Why are we putting Israel funding and Ukraine funding? Thank God J.D. Vance was elected in Ohio. He came out very strong right away and said, no, we're not going to put both of these together. You can consider them separately. They're completely in separate parts of the world. They are different criteria. One, we've been funding for more than a year at high levels, and the other is a crisis right now. And so I think that what Biden is trying to do is just use the power of the media that always go along with him and quickly get us to fund everything.
The breakdown of this $105 billion, of that, only $14 billion would be for Israel. 60 would be to Ukraine, 14 for U.S. border security, 7 for Indo-Pacific region, that would include Taiwan, and $10 million for humanitarian aid. Now, how much of that goes to Palestinians? That kind of, you have to question that too. It's like trying to pull a fast one on the American people who generally do support standing with Israel and want to get that support to Israel. Those are the same people who may question, where has all this money gone in Ukraine? He's trying to unite these issues together and make it kind of like these are all the same enemies, same battle, when instead, like you said, Rick, if Israel really is talking about $14 billion, that doesn't, we don't need an Oval Office address for that. The American people support that.
Yeah, look, I think the American people overwhelmingly support Israel and want to help Israel in every possible way. But giving money to Iran doesn't help Israel. Giving money to Hamas doesn't help Israel. And let's be very clear, Jordan, we have a government in Gaza that is Hamas. The government is a terrorist organization. We have to be very clear-eyed. Joe Biden is acting like we've got some sort of a pinky, test with these people. We've got a commitment that Hamas is somehow going to take the money and not spend it on terrorist activities or programs, that it's going to give it to the people. And I put this whole trust that the State Department and the White House has in the same bucket. They trusted Iran. They trust Hamas government. I just find it perplexing. If you want to help Israel, don't be funding Iran and don't be funding Hamas. Help Israel.
When you get into these conflicts, like Israel's made it clear, they want to make Hamas inoperable. That's their goal. They have not said whether they're going to take over the Gaza Strip forever or for a couple of weeks. Yeah. But their big goal is Hamas as a terror group needs to be inoperable. That's a goal you can understand. What's the goal in Ukraine? Is it to push them back to Crimea? Is it to ultimately invade Russia? Is it to take over Russia? Is it to get Putin thrown out? It's unclear. And it changes. It seems like it changes day to day. And the amount of money that Biden goes to the American people last night, Don, he says he wants $100 billion. Most of the speech is about Israel, and only $14 billion of that goes to Israel. The rest goes to Ukraine. That makes me upset.
What we've seen now is that we're a year and a half plus into this thing.
So much taxpayer money.
And this is where I've said I feel like that our government never listens to where the people are right now. They listen to where they were initially. Initially, we're all in favor of being supportive of Ukraine. And we all are still, yes, they're being invaded. We're all still supportive of Ukraine. What we're not supportive of is endless funding and endless money and potential of upping this war to where things get out of control.